And actually, I have just talked about the terminology scope in software. You get, if you were attentive, you must at least have an idea of what exactly scope is. So anyone with an idea about the terminology called scope in software, how do you perceive scope? Anyone, please feel free to come in at any moment and tell us how you perceive, how you understand scope before we go to the software project scope management. Anyone with an idea? Anything you think about scope, it's what I'm actually interested in. Feel free to bring it out. Henry, an idea? Emmanuel, Vivian, Chizito, Linda, Josephine, and Ivan. Anyone with an idea about scope? You see, sometimes I always want to just record these sessions and maybe upload it for you, but the reason as to why I don't want to do so is because I want at least to also have real-time interpretation of stuff by engaging you so that I get to know how you perceive some things, and then I'm able to correct you or confirm or amend the concept here and I mean there and then. You get. Otherwise, I
To
will
me,
just be recording. Yes, Chizito.
to me, I think scope is maybe it refers to the, like, to me, I understand it that it refers to the range of functionalities or features that
The red.
project is supposed to to compose to be composed of,
You
or
said
to be able to work.
you said the red.
That is the range of functionalities, like functionalities or features that a given project is supposed to work with, or to put into its put into its
Yeah,
like be able to work with the project, that functionalities that a project is able to work with or to incorporate into its system.
very good. Very good. Submission. To simplify it, you see, every time we talk about scope, actually, you even have a section under your final year project called scope, where you have to talk about what your final year project covers. You get like the boundaries. Yeah. So when we talk about scope, yeah, if we have to consider it like in the final year projects, you will have to talk about things like the geographical scope. For example, the case study where you're going to conduct your research from. For example, you can be coming up with a system where it's used as a basically maybe university community. So you have to indicate that my project is gonna be used at Imposi University or at Uganda Mothers University, Imposi Hospital, something like that. So we also have time scope. Time scope is when you have to determine when the project is going to start and when it is going to end. So basically, you are looking at the boundaries you get. So that is scope. Now, in our case, when we talk about scope, you get, when we talk about scope, in our case, we are basically looking at the work that is involved in creating the product. You get. So you will sometimes hear me talking about a product or project. Yeah, but a product is an accomplished what? Project. You get deliverables. So when I talk of a scope, I am referring to the entire work that is involved in creating the products of the project and the processes used to create them. You get. Yeah, like what are you going to get involved in? What are you going to work on? For example, if we are to work on a project like e-voting, for guild elections or union elections, that means we are looking at what are we going to get involved in. For example, we can talk about voter registration. We can talk about maybe voter counting, declarations. We can talk about maybe registering candidates and so on. So here in the scope, we are looking at the work involved in creating the products of the project and the processes used to create them. So basically that is the scope we are looking at. So, but we also have another terminology called the deliverable, which is a product produced as part of the project you get. Yeah. Now, you see, a project is big and bigger than a product. We can have various products that formulate a project you get. Yeah, for example, we can have some softwares, some hardwares, which contribute, or we can have some software products, hardware products, some documents, talk about like maybe minutes that you always come up with during your sessions. All those are all those deliverables you get. So now when we talk about scope management, now in scope management, we are looking at the processes involved in defining and controlling what is not and what is included in a project. I don't know if you're picking something. What I'm saying, when we talk about a scope, I can use even another example of maybe your degree. Your degree, you know very well, it is for 3 years. That is the time scope of your program. Then your degree is also it actually has credit units and the courses, or what you call course units. So that means that your degree has specific number of course units or courses that you have to do in order for you to graduate. You get that is the scope, the boundary of this program. So in the same way, when we talk about software, we are talking about all the work that is involved in creating the products of the project. Then the processes you use to create them, that is the scope. That is why you see in this chapter, we are going to be looking at what do we need to do, and then how do we do it. Those are the processes you get. So when we talk about the project scope management, we are looking at the processes, that is the how, and then we look at the processes that you involve yourself when it comes to defining and controlling what is or what is not included in a project. This is a project scope management. We are going to look at each one of these processes so that we get to know what tasks are involved at each one, at each stage of the scope management process. Now, the first step in project scope management is what we call collecting requirements. Now, over the time we have been learning, we have been discussing about collecting what the requirements. Now, in collecting requirements, we are basically defining and documenting the features and functions of the products produced during the project, as well as the processes used in completing them. I want you to listen carefully, and where you don't understand, please ask. This is your money, you need to get benefit out of it. So I want also to create an impact. I want also to make sure that you understand what we call scope management processes. When I talk about collecting the requirements, when we talk about defining and documenting the features and the functions of the products, and now in software, there is what we call microservices. Now, microservices is when you can have a big system, but divided into smaller products, you get, which are independent. For example, the way you can have a university website, but again, each faculty has its own what website, you get, with a subdomain. For example, www.science.umu.ac.ug, meaning that science is a subdomain of the major domain, which is umu.ac.ug. I don't know if you're getting that is a product or a microservice product, whereby now we can have what we call various modules in a project or in a software system. These modules can be independent. For example, if the system is about to hospital management, you realize that there is an independent system which is for booking appointments. We can actually call it maybe appointments portal, you get. So it is an independent what? Portal, but it connects and relates with the rest of other portals towards hospital management. So when we talk about correcting requirements, we are just basically coming up with the features and functionalities of the products here. By listing, we need to have the login on our system. We need also to have maybe security in our system. We need also to have a module that maybe patients can go and book what appointment with doctors. We need also to have this. So basically, you're looking at the features. What does the system do, and then how you get during project as well as the processes used in operating them. For example, if we talk about maybe security in our system, so how are we going to do it to achieve this? Are we going to use two-factor authentication? Okay, if we use two-factor authentication, is it going to be by email? Is it going to be by maybe SMS? Is it going to be by any authentication what tool? So when we talk about define after collecting the requirements, it will help you to know what you need to do and what you don't need to get involved in, because there has to be a boundary. You need to outline what needs to be done, because the system cannot be just open, you get. Yeah, but you need to set boundaries. That is why we can easily set boundaries by collecting the requirements. For example, we can say, since our system is maybe for e-voting, we shall not include things of maybe roles of what? Roles of maybe the candidates. Excuse me. So basically, we need to understand that scope management is all about defining what needs to be done and what needs not to be done. So after collecting requirements, then we go to another step, which is called define scope. We achieve this by reviewing the project charter, the requirement documents, and organizational processes, assets to create a scope what statement. Yes, when we talk about project chapter, talk about requirements, documents, and organization policy assets, these are all documents that we use when we want to come up with what we call the scope statement. Then after defining our scope, we shall have to create what we call the work breakdown structure, this WBS. Now, when we talk about WBS, we are basically looking at subdividing the major project deliverables into smaller manageable components. The way how you see the university, we can respond the university as a big system, but we realize that not everything is done by maybe Senate. Each faculty then has its own leadership. So where they can manage courses, their own courses, they have to come up with their own curriculum and everything. So if we have a system like e-voting, that means we can have to subdivide this major project into smaller manageable modules. For example, we can have a module for the authentication where these people working on this particular module are going to be responsible for making the registration and the login pages, as well as any other security that is involved within our system. Then we can also have maybe another module called tagging.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Ivan.
My network was a little bit down. I didn't get the meaning of the abbreviation, the abbreviated word, the WBS.
WBS is work breakdown structure. The way
Okay, sir.
how you can subdivide the major project deliverables into smaller manageable components. And that is the example I'm giving. You can have a big system like e-voting, but then you decide that in e-voting, we need to have various modules handling various functions. For example, we can have the authentication module. Now, this fourth module is where you can have maybe registration of voters as well as login. You get. Then we can also have something else like another module called maybe tallying of votes. We can also have another module called maybe pre-elections or registration of candidates. I mean, depending on what you want to be in your system. Yes, if a big system is like maybe hospital management system, we can have modules like maybe appointments booking. We can have modules like patients, for example, how to manage your patients within the facility. We can have another module for doctors, where doctors have to register. Then you have to know their specialties, where we can have maybe gynaes, physicians, and so on. Then we can have a section for nurses under the same module of doctors. Then we can have maybe human resource management as another module within the same major system called hospital management system. So work breakdown structure is basically trying to subdivide the major project deliverables into smaller modules or smaller manageable components. You get the way how we can have a country, but then we have maybe local government, whereby now when it comes to working on or maybe village roads, it is the district which is responsible. So those are the small manageable components I'm referring to in terms of our software. So then after creating the work breakdown structure, when you have already broken down your system into small manageable components, then you can verify the scope. Verifying the scope, we are formalizing acceptance of the project deliverables. In software, when we talk about verifying, we are like trying to check for validity. We are trying to check if what has been specified has been achieved, the correctness of a particular area. So we verify if what we stated is what is supposed to be done. That is verifying. You get. Yeah, in software, what that is what we would call like you validate. For example, maybe actually we are going to do some practicals. I think yeah, we can do some practicals today so that I take you through some things. Then we also have controlling the scope. Then this is when you actually this is the last step, the last stage of the scope management processes, where we have controlling the changes to project scope throughout the life of the project. As you know very well that sometimes requirements keep changing. So we can only manage the scope of a project to accommodate the ever-changing needs of the stakeholders by having what we call the control measures. How do we control? You get, yes, by accommodating those manageable changes, but also by limiting, yes, things that we think may not be of use or might end up leading us to widening the time of the project, also widening the budget of the project, and so on. So this is a case that you will look into. It is also about to project scope management summary, where we have the collecting of requirements, defining the scope, creating the work breakdown structure, monitoring and what, and the controlling. You will go through it. So when we talk about the requirement, yes, the word requirement or terminology requirement is so common when it comes to what software project management, and you will always hear it. So basically, we are looking at the condition or capability that must be met or possessed by system. For example, registration is a requirement for any person to join a university. You get, so that one is a condition or capability that must be met. Any condition that has been met, it is what we refer to as a requirement. Later, we shall look at what we call, anyway, in software, there is what we call functional requirements and non-functional requirements. But now, when we talk about a requirement in a general perspective, we are looking at what a system must do, what a system must have. You get, yeah. So for some IT projects, it is helpful to divide the requirements development into categories for the requirement registration, requirement analysis, requirement specification, and the requirement what? Validation. Yes, for some projects. Yeah, when we talk about registration, like collecting the requirements, after collecting these requirements, then you go to what we call analyzing what? Analyzing them. Yeah, so that you're able to pick out those that you think are very what important. Then you start what you call the requirements what specification by trying to point them to those areas that you think will be of great value. Then we have what we call the requirements validation. Requirements validation, I told you, is validating is when you put limits, what needs to be done. We can do validation if you're on some fields. For example, you can create a system where you have a field, for example, for people to enter their date of birth, whereby you validate it by date, or where you have people to enter, where users have to enter maybe numeric values. So you can validate it whereby no single person can enter the text, but instead it can only allow integers. So it is important to use an interactive approach to define the requirements, since they are often unclear in the project. Then we have what we call cost to collect software requirements. This is a case that you will go through. Look at for collecting requirements. We have what we call the interviews. Like, how do you get the requirements? How do you get the things, the features that that particular system must do. You get, how do you get these conditions? So you can get the conditions by collecting the requirements. And now, how do we collect the requirements? We can collect the requirements by conducting what we call what? Interviews. We can use questionnaires and surveys. We have various software tools that we use in doing so. I think we can do some practicals on this. Yeah, we can get a some survey or a software tool that we can use to collect some requirements from the users, because sometimes the users of the system must be with you physically, or sometimes they can actually even be far. But now, how do you get to know their what? Their needs. You get to know their needs or what their system must do by engaging them, by asking them somewhat questions. Which questions you can ask through interviews, you can ask them through questionnaires or surveys, you know, using software tools and so on. We can also use what calls the focus group discussions and the facilitated workshops. We can also use what we call observation techniques. That is when we are collecting the requirements. Then we can also use what we call group creativity and decision-making techniques, as well as prototyping. Why don't I take you through at least something when it comes to collecting the requirements here, so that you get to know what I'm talking about when it comes to maybe online requirements gathering. Let's see. For example, we have various software tools we can use when it comes to gathering the requirements online. You get one of them is SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey is like Google Forms, where you can go. You see their domain is www.surveymonkey.com. Let us go through together. We can, let me hope you can see my screen. Members, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we can create an account. Like for you to collect requirements, you need to have an account with them. For example, you can use srivoa@umu.ac.ug. I have to agree to their terms and conditions. When you don't agree, they cannot allow you. Like any other software, normally they have to go to this validation. You have to, that is why you see, before I click on agree, this next button is disabled, but once I agree to their terms and conditions, it is enabled. The way how you can be installing Microsoft Office on your machine, whereby you must comply to their terms and conditions for you to proceed with the installation. So for them, it is a requirement. Those are some of the requirements that for any user to install our application, you must agree to our software terms and conditions. Then sometimes if you don't create an account, you can as well log in using, in case you have an account on Microsoft, in case you have an account on Facebook or LinkedIn or Google or even Apple, you can log in using those accounts. But let us do from scratch by registering. Click next. Excuse me. There is already an account with that email. Okay, let me change to another email. That means maybe I already have an account with the Survey Monkey, so I cannot use that email. Let me use the another email. I press next. Enter the password. You can create a password. I know very many people are gonna be working with the systems, but this is also very, very sensitive, whereby of late you hear people crying of their money being stolen from banks due to some lack and breaches in what? In its security. So one of the ways is to create a strong word, a strong password. It is always good that you either use auto-generated passwords, which are a bit strong with the mixture of what. I believe in your year one you studied some of the features of a good word, a good password, where you talk about alphanumeric, you talk about combination of letters, symbols, numbers, and so on. So now let us create a strong password. That is why you see now it is green. Then we repeat to confirm that is same password. Then we can create an account. I think I can save this as well. Okay. Let us start our survey from scratch. Let us go with this option. Survey name, we can say maybe voting. Yeah, we can say maybe voting. Then they ask us to choose the category. Or we have community, customer feedback, concept, product, or testing. So we can choose any depending on what you want. For example, this is a product, or we're coming up with a concept. Then you can now you see there is this copy questions and answers from a document. That is in case you already have your questions that you want to ask the users of the system already in a particular document, but in case you don't have and you're just going to be entering them directly, you just proceed and say create what? Create survey. So our survey is what? Voting. Now let us start creating some questions. For example, question one, we say, let us enter question one here. Okay, we can ask you is voted have you ever voted the online? So this question is a closed-ended question, which requires a yes or what or no. So we come to multiple choice, and we can maintain multiple choice. We come here and choose a category of yes or no. Yes or no. Then we can, you see they have options like So toward this question, okay, add other question options. For example, in case of the question they required us to also add another section. For example, if others specify, then we could tick this. But if not the case, then we can go to the next question. And say, do you think voting is better than traditional voting? Actually, let us just call it e-voting is better than traditional voting. So that members just choose agree or disagree, strongly agree, things like that. Let us select this, agree, disagree, strongly agree, agree, neither agree nor disagree, disagree, yes. So these ones, neither agree or disagree, we can remove some in case you think you need to, or you can just maintain all, or you can even change the way how you want your users to work to see your messages. Let us remove some, for example, this one. Yeah, let us leave 4. Then we can also give them an option whereby if none of these is their option, then they can add their own customized add other section, like for others specify. Therefore, you can change the message on how you want the users to see. Display as a comment field, display as answer choice, not display as comment field, yes. Using the single line text, 50 characters, or we can do less. Then validation, don't validate this answer, or you can validate, make sure it is a specific line. Validation is putting the restrictions on that one, on that field. Yeah. For example, when you say make sure it's a specific line, meaning it cannot exceed that. Or when you say make sure it is a whole number, meaning that only whole numbers will be accepted in that field, and so on. So we may not validate it. Then you can go to next question and say, our next question we can say, do you have access to internet? Okay. Then we can say yes or no. You can also maybe say if the question is specified, then we can save this. You see now, you see these are the questions we have done what we have formulated. We get, yeah, sometimes in a case now you have a logo, you can add a customized logo here. This is our survey. We can actually try to preview it so that you are able to see how your survey is going to look like. Yeah. So this is the e-voting survey where people can do it. So we can finish. And then we say collect what? Responses. Now, under collect responses is where you have to send the email you get. So can I have people's emails? Can I have your emails being typed so that I'm able to share with you? Whereby now here you put the emails of the users that you want to respond to this particular survey. Send the email. Then send you an email verification. Let me first then check this email as you also send in your what? Your emails. Verify email. Let me just log in. I'm just going to what I'm doing is I'm verifying my email like with them because it is the new email. So thank you for verify your email. Okay, the email is here. So let me verify it. Verify email. Some members are not sending their emails. I don't know why, whether they are there or not, whether they are following or not. Anyway, after verifying my email, now here we have two options. You can send surveys your way, send your surveys by email, embed them on your website. You can actually, yes, embed this in your website. For example, in case there is a university portal where you want people to send their views, sometimes even vote online. You can use SurveyMonkey for voting online. I mean, anything. So I want someone who has really done this course to have an impact, at least even if others fail, but pick something that you can do that other people cannot do, that at least your input can be what? Can be experienced. Yeah, for example, you cannot be part of the organization where people want to maybe vote over something and then you don't at least suggest that us use a tool like a SurveyMonkey or Google Forms to carry out our voting exercise. You get. So embed them on your website, share a link on your social media or web page and so on. By by responses from the right demographics and so on. So we can go with any. You can share a link, you can buy this, you can, I mean, for example, now let me share a link. This is the link that I'm going to do what? To copy. When I copy this, it is actually copied to clipboard. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share in your emails. Um, yeah, let me just go here, I compose so that I'm able to share with you the link that you can use to provide what feedback. Yes, here is the link. I can call it maybe feedback or no what system. So now here you can as well send it to me. Then let me put your emails here. Email from then I have your memory. Then I have John. Then I have Josephine. So that I can put some people under copy. Then I have physical. Then I have connector. I have Linda. And the Vivian. Okay. So I can just put a small border here. Hello, hello, what? Hello, community. And they provide with the feedback regarding the new proposed voting what scheme for union elections by following the attached link. Yeah. So now, once this is done, I think I can share. I can send this. So I believe everyone is has gotten the email from Survey Monkey regarding that exercise. And I will be receiving, I will be receiving the responses in real time. Then, so every member is suppose every member doing information system project management must provide feedback on that sample. Then every person must as well create their own survey. It can be a vote, it can be anything, because you see they have quite a number of areas you can actually come up with. It can be a survey. For example, when you're collecting requirements, you see, you can have, this is now my dashboard, where at least I have one survey, which is this one, but we can also create others of different formats. That was a survey I can conduct, maybe even in voting and so on. So let's check here. So now you see someone has already done responded. Let us check to see. Let us see the results of answer. Okay, yeah. Good. Okay. Yeah, that is good. because it takes only 1 minute. It is a very simple one. It is a very simple tool. The way how we can also use Google Forms, come up with the same. Yeah, Google Forms is another online tool that we can use to correct or gather requirements. We can use a blank one, you can use templates. I mean, the way how you can also maybe come here and say, you know what, we can rename this to maybe keyword voting. Voting project, you can say question one. Let me just call it a sample. Then we choose, is it a multiple question? Is it a checkbox? Is it a drop down? What exactly? So it is upon you to define which nature of response options you need. For example, if we choose checkbox, we can say maybe yes. We add another one with the no. We add another one with the neither, depending. And you know, for checkboxes, a user can do what? A user can add as, I mean, can check as like all options. Yeah, a user can even check all options or can pick one depending. If you want your question to be a mandatory one, you have to add this validation that is a required one. Then obviously you go. Then we can add another question. Then you go on adding one by one. Let me, why can't we just also use it so that you get to know as the voting visible for union elections. Okay, then question number 2, we can say you have internet access. You can say our option is yes, another one is no. Then we can add another question, which is like which is actually open-ended, which is voting the would do you recommend during the union elections? Now this one we can make it open-ended by saying let it be just in form of short paragraphs. Yeah, someone can just come and type, and that is it. Now after that, let us it is on the bottom. Then we can say we are going to send this is it via email. Then we can enter people's what? People's emails here, the same way we did. never come up or never manage an information system project when you have not involved users. So when you don't engage these users, chances are 99% that your project will fail or will be rejected. So one of the recommendations for successful project management is engaging the users. So now, gathering requirements is one of the ways how we do it. We engage users. Okay. Let us yes. Okay, I believe still everyone has done what? Has received the what? Yes. To okay. Good. Let us go back to this is where we are, but like I've said, every member is required to use SurveyMonkey on any project of their choice, so that we are able to you share with me. Let's assume I'm your user, so I needed to get the questions that you would want a user of a certain project of your own choice to respond to, so that you have requirements that can help you to do what? To manage their what? Information system project. Yeah, so that will be in a Moodle you upload. So here is just a case of what went right. So just for like this telecommunication laboratories uses accept software, which is a product planning and innovation management application, and winners of the excellence of that. Then accept helps them instill a consistent, repeatable, and predictable process for QA, the new products definition and development. They want us to documenting the requirements. Requirements documents are often generated by software and includes text, images, diagrams, videos, and other media. So now, what we do is sometimes you need to get requirements in the form of videos. They can be diagrams and can be images, depending on you get. So a requirements management plan describes how a project requirements will be obviously analyzed and be documented as well as what managed. But there is also what we call the requirements traceability matrix. Normally, matrix is like information presented in the form of a table. Yeah, for example, like, sorry, I think I have due to the delay, because normally I have to end this session at what? At 9, so that because I have some other engagements. Sorry, but let us try to conclude this. Sorry for some interruptions. Okay. Yeah. I was telling you that matrices are popular and the good practices. When you try to summarize content in a tabular format, yeah, for example, you can meet as a team that is going to work on a certain product or project, and then you distribute work. For example, you have the work items, then you have resources like the people who are going to be assigned those responsibilities, then also the timelines you get, as well as the expectations. So just in a tabular format. Yeah. Um, like this one, it is a sample requirements traceability what matrix where we have like the requirement number, then the name of that particular requirement, which category does it belong to, then the source where we gotten it, and then the status. For example, I can give you another example. For example, where we have been talking about the e-voting, we can have maybe EV 001 as our requirement number. Then the requirement name is registration. And then category is maybe onboarding. You get. Then source is maybe from registrar, for example, because when we are registering, we need to consider only the registration numbers of the voters, because that is to avoid repeated voting and maybe intruders. We believe each and every person has one unique registration number, and no person who is not a student can have one. So that is the source. Our source can be from registrar. Then the status can be maybe doing or yes, doing or ongoing or to do, depending. Defining scope, key inputs for preparing the project scope statement, include the project charter, comments, and so on. As time progresses, the scope of a project should become more clear and specific. This is a case that you will read through. We have what we call the media snapshot. Many people enjoy watching television shows like the Trading Space, where participants have 2 days and that amount to update a room and their neighborhood. So you realize that so you can get sponsors for most projects to sign. Similarly, this form, it will make project scope management here, in most cases, more easy. Creating, how do you create the work breakdown structure that we talked about? Because you remember I told you that the work breakdown structure is the subdividing of what major system into smaller manageable deliverables, yes, or smaller manageable products you get that at the end of the day form what the system. So so the work breakdown structure is a deliverable oriented grouping of the work involved in what project that defines the total scope of the work of the project. Yes. So WBS is a foundation document that provides the basis for planning and managing project schedules, cost, resources, and changes, because once you break down the work items, or you break down the system into small manageable products, you get to know how long each will take, how much it will cost, what are the requirements. So these ones helps you to define the cost, the resources. Like I told you, every time you hear me talking about resources in project management, in software project management, specifically in software project management, I'm referring to individuals, the people who are working on a project. Yes. So then we also have what we call decomposition. It is subdividing project deliverables into smaller pieces. Decomposition, like you're trying to squeeze, you get, yeah, for example, like I told you, you can have a module for the auth of authentication. Now, this module can have what we call onboarding, as well as maybe two-factor authentication. But then you can squeeze them to smaller manageable deliverables or pieces. So we have what we call a work package, is a task at the lowest level you get, or sometimes we call them work items you get. Yeah, for example, implementing passwords. That can be just a work item or a work package you get, which is a task at the lowest level. What the work breakdown structure. The work breakdown structure can be having a module for the authentication. Then among authentication is the implementation of the passwords you get, or passwords which can be in the form of maybe whatever. Then you can have authentication, other authentication measures which can be in the form of maybe biometrics. It can be in the form of maybe two-factor authentication, which is maybe in the form of a token, which can be in the form of maybe email. I mean anything, SMS and so on. Sample intra-network breakdown structure organized by product. Yeah, we have, for example, you have the intranet at the workplace, whereby how to come up with your intranet site. This is a website, yeah, but internally accessed. Yeah, we can have website design, whereby now website design, we have also another one called another grouping for homepage design, another page or grouping for marketing pages, or another grouping for sales pages. The way how I told you, you can have e-voting as the main system, but then under e-voting you have various modules you get. Yeah, these modules helps you, for example, or like I told you, can have authentication here. Then after authentication, we can have maybe registration and login. Then we can have something like maybe voter registration. Then we can have something like maybe vote counting and so on. You get. So basically you're trying to divide. Then below them is where you put, for example, under authentication, okay, maybe under auth, what do we need? We need someone to log in using password. Then after using a password, then they have to also provide the two-factor authentication. So you realize that these are work items under under auth. Auth can be the main one up here. Then we have a password. Then after that, then you also have what we call maybe the 2FA. You get. So the moment someone enters their registration number as the password, then they will be provided with a token, or maybe their phone number that they provided on registration. Then with the token that they have to do to enter for them to be taken to their dashboard. Yes, this is the dashboard. Then under the dashboard is where they have to select maybe presidential candidates or union president candidates, then other posts and so on. Then after that, then we have another module called what? Maybe voting, real voting. Then after voting, then we shall also have another module called what? Maybe tallying of what? Tallying of votes. So basically that is the work breakdown structure. So in case you happen to get a question either during exams or during the test or during the interviews, I expect you to have strong knowledge on how you can help the organization, how you can help an entity to break down their system into small manageable components using a technique of work breakdown structure by doing the same. So our exam will be specifically geared towards understanding the components. That is why last week, those who did the test last week, but one, like, yes, I was not there, but at least I know you could not even find a way, you could not copy, because I was not testing cramming, but I was testing understanding concepts. So that is why I always want you to be part of this, whereby any case you don't understand something, please always ask, so that we are able to do it, harmonize and work out something very well, so that even if you go to an interview somewhere someday, you are able to articulate this, you are able to come up with everything from an informed point of view. Yeah, we have work breakdown structure expanded more. We have concepts, website design, development, rollout, support, whereby in the concept you evaluate the current system, as well as defining requirements, defining user requirements. I mean, you take time and read through this, because it is well defined, yeah, from the project perspective to the lower level of concepts you get. Yeah, for example, if we have the intranet project, you get, yeah, intranet, it can be like a website for only internal use. As a university, we can have an intranet. So when I talk about intranet, I don't mean the intranet of the networks. Yeah, but I'm talking about a system that is used internally within that particular premise. You get, yeah. So where we can have a concept, then website designing, development, rollout, and support. You know very well these are what stages of a website project. You get. So now, when we talk about the concept, that is why we have things like evaluating the current system. Is there something that they have been using to vote? Fine. Yes, it has been maybe lining up, or I don't know, whatever way. But then you define the requirements of the new system after looking at what has been used. Then you can define the requirements. Then after that, you proceed to define user requirements. You get. So the same, you define specific functionalities, define the risks and risk management approaches. You can develop the work plan, brief web development team, and so on. So we have always to we have what we call the Gantt chart. Gantt charts techniques used in managing project scope, as well as time. Yeah, for example, where we have now you see, especially time scheduling. Yeah, these Gantt charts are popular, and I want us to be very, very active in managing this course. I may not be in a position to do everything, because what I know when it comes to information system management is a lot. So I may not be in a position to feed you with it all. But when you do, as I do, we end up achieving. That is why now I'm going to request members as to perform one thing for me, one extra thing based on today's session, to go and create accounts with the a tool called Event Viewer. Let me confirm briefly here. Let me confirm briefly. allow me to confirm shortly. Event viewer. Let me check. On to this one. Anyway, there are quite a number of tools we use in what? In the information system project management. Yeah, and I think I need to take you through most of them so that you get to know how most of them work, so that you are able to apply them in your areas of specialization. But since majority requires onboarding, I think I need to first arrange and I register with the various, then I'm able to take you through. Yeah, so that we're going to take a lot of time during the lecture period. Yeah, but I was telling you that Gantt charts helps in managing, they help us in managing software or information system project schedule. Yeah, when you want to manage the schedule of your project, we use tools like what? Gantt charts. Yeah, so that you get to know, for example, you see now here, we have the concept as one of the, like we have decided to subdivide our project into small manageable deliverables. For example, we have one as being the concept. Now, under concept is where we evaluate the current system. For example, if we are to go with the e-voting, what is the university currently using when they are conducting the votes? Then after that, we have another one called define the requirements. All these ones are under concept. That's why this one is 1.1, 1.2. Then after that is done, then we shall start designing the website. You get, or designing, that is come up with the designs after analysis has been done. After design is done, then we can start developing of the e-voting. After e-voting development is done, then we shall test it. After testing it out, then we'll continue maintaining it. Now this is a Gantt chart here. The Gantt chart, this Gantt chart you see has the timelines. For example, if our project is to take maybe 4 months from January to April, so we shall realize that we have tasks. For example, this is concept, this one, the first one you see, you get, this is concept. Then under concept, we have like evaluating current system. We shall do the evaluation of the current system from this time, that is from 4 to around 11, you get. Yes, but as we are doing so, after doing this, that is why you see that it is after doing that, that we shall go to define what? Requirements. This is defining what? Defining the requirements, which is under what? Which is under the concept. You get. Now, after doing that, immediately after evaluating the current system, then we have to start defining user what? User requirements from this point. But we can do user requirements as we also conduct what we call define content requirements. We can also be doing system requirements, server owner requirements, you know. Yeah, but now you see that server owner requirements takes less time as compared to what? To system requirements, though they start at the same one. They start at the same time, all these ones. But they can only start after the end of what? After the end of concept or evaluating current what? Current system. Yes. Then these ones can do what? Can start at the same time, though their completion stage is not the same. Yeah, they can start at the same time, but you see that this one finishes around maybe the 12 you get. Yeah, so it is only this one, which is the user requirements, that will go up to the 18. You get the 18. Then after that, then around the 20th is when we can now start on defining specific what? Functionality, define risk, develop project plan, as well as brief web development team. Yes. After that is done, then we can go to the work breakdown structure number 2 of what? Website design. Then, but remember, we also have to do this, but now depending on the methodology being used, because you can realize that now this development started a bit earlier. So they are using like prototyping, you get, yeah, whereby you keep coming up with the developments that you roll out, and you give them out to the users for feedback. Then you design again, then you develop things like that. Then until we reach the what? The support stage. And you see that the support together with the rolling out of tests are normally ending at the same what? At the same period towards mid-April. Again, yeah, mid-April. That is when maybe is what stop. But this one we shall also do practically using the I don't want to use the Microsoft project, but we can use Microsoft Azure. Then we can use other tools like Asana. We can use other tools like they are actually quite many, but I will specifically focus much on those which are popular. That even if you live today and you go to MTN, you go to Stanbic, you go to NSSF, I mean, these are the very tools that you will find that are being used. Yes, but in this case, we shall use Microsoft Azure as our testing tool. Yeah, so that you get to understand where the dependencies that this particular task is depending on this, that this one can only start after the completion of this. But we'll have some that can start together. You get that when you are executing, it does not stop you from executing the concepts. You get it, but then you can only first come up with the concept, then you can start what? Designing. So basically we shall look into such and monitoring and controlling this maintenance. As you remember, I told you maintenance is the longest phase in the information system project management, whereby you can do maintenance from the time you start the project to the lifetime of that particular project. So basically we shall do this practically so that you will get to understand the whole idea. Yeah. Then these are all cases that I think you can go through. Approaches to developing the work breakdown structures. You have to use guidelines whereby some organizations provide the guidelines for preparing their work. Yeah, they can have their own templates. Then we have what we call the analog approach, whereby you have to review the work breakdown structure of similar projects and tailor your project. Yeah, because you can go to Google, look at how a similar reporting system work breakdown structure has been formulated. Then you can benchmark, you can copy from there and make your own. Then we also have what we call the top-down approach. Start with the largest items of the project and break them down top-down, meaning from up, from the highest to the lowest. Then when we talk about bottom-up, you start with specific tasks and roll them out. You get, yeah, meaning that you start from the smallest. Yeah. Then we have mind map. Yes, very good. The other software I was telling you about is called mind map. Mind map, we shall also use it. Is another tool that I want members to do what? Open accounts in Mind Map. Mind Map. Yeah, I will take you through Mind Map so that you get to know how it works, so that you then I'm able to assign you something after I have already oriented you on how to use Mind Map on managing the schedule of the project as well as its tasks very well. We shall go through it together then. Yeah. Mind mapping approach. Mind mapping is a technique that uses branches radiating out from forward idea to structure thoughts as well as what ideas. This is how actually, yes, it looks like, where you have various branches which are radiating from a core idea to structure the project. Shall we go through this? We have what we call the work breakdown dictionary and scope baseline. Many work breakdown tasks, work breakdown structure tasks are vague and must be explained. Also, people know what to do and they can estimate how long it will take them and what it will cost to do the entire work. Advice operating work breakdown structure as well as its dictionary. So a unit of work should appear at only one place in the work breakdown structure. These are just recommendations that in case you want to come up with a work breakdown structure as well as its dictionary. Yeah, they continue even up to this page. And now what went wrong, a project scope that is too broad and the grandiose can sometimes cause severe problems. You realize that scope creep and an over emphasis on technology for technology's sake resulted in the bankruptcy of the large pharmaceutical firm, which is Fox Mayer Drug, which was based in there, Texas. Yeah, these are all case studies of what made their firms lose out business. For example, in 2001, McDonald's fast food chain initiated the project to create an intranet that would connect its headquarters with all of its restaurants to provide detailed operational information in real time, instant. So after spending all this amount of 170 million US dollars on consultants and the initial implementation planning, McDonald's realized that the project was too much to handle and terminated it. You get, yeah, that is why, like I told you, sometimes, yeah, you need to plan well so that by the time you decide to engage into a project, you're sure that it is achievable. You get. Then verifying scope as the second last phase of project scope management. It's very difficult to create a good scope statement and work background structure the project. So therefore, it is even more difficult to verify project scope and minimize scope one changes. So when we talk about now verification, it involves formal acceptance of the completed project scope by the stakeholders. They have to agree to this. Once they agree, then this will obviously help you to have achieved by customer inspection and then sign off key deliverables. Controlling the scope, it involves controlling changes to the project scope, and goals of the scope control are you have to influence the factors that causes scope changes. Then also we are aiming at achieving assurance that changes are processed according to procedures developed as part of integrated change control. Manage changes when they occur. Variance is sometimes the difference between planned and actual performance. Yeah, so that variance, sometimes it is inevitable. Yeah. So these are some of the best practices for avoiding scope problems. You have to keep the scope realistic, involve users in the project scope management, use off-the-shelf hardware and software whenever possible. Then follow good project management processes, yes, like the SDLCs and so on. So there you will be in position to do what? To manage well your project management scope. We have some suggestions for improving user inputs, develop a good project selection process, and insist that sponsors are from the user organization. These are recommendations that you can go through, as well as some that can help you to reduce incomplete and changing requirements. Once you have developed and followed a requirements management process, it can help a lot to avoid or to reduce the incomplete and changing requirements. Then you have also to use some techniques, for example, prototyping, use case modeling, as well as the joint application development to get more users involved. Then also you have to put requirements in writing and keep them up to date. Yeah, put them in writing so that there is a reference. Then you create a requirements management database for documenting and controlling your requirements. Then provide adequate testing and conducting testing throughout the project lifecycle, review changes from a system perspective, and everything that is there. Using software to assist in project scope management. Yeah, we can use various tools like Mindmap. We can use Azure. We can use Microsoft Project. I mean, there are quite many. Yeah, depending on what you want to achieve. If it is allocating, if it is gathering requirements, then you can correct the requirements using maybe Google Forms. You can use SurveyMonkey. You can use any other survey tool, which is online, that is for users who are not within your premises. Then that is what we have managed to do to come up with in terms of scope project management or project scope management, which we started as the process of ensuring that the project addresses all the work required and only the work requirement. Like you stick to only that. I said This is to address all the work required and only the work required to get to complete the project successfully. Otherwise, when you don't stick to the boundaries, you may end up going astray. You may end up involving unusable or unwanted stuff in the project, hence wasting resources, time, and money from that. So these have been the processes of project scope work management. You start by collecting requirements. The way we saw, we have to define scope, create work breakdown structure. You have to verify your scope and then start doing what? Controlling it. Unless you people have questions, but I would love to terminate our session from here so that I'm able to upload the question. I mean the tool where you're going to upload where you're going to no, this time let us not upload, but what you do is just respond to those surveys. Yes, record. What are you going to do? I'm going to add a section where you are required to put a link and the screenshots of your SurveyMonkey questions. Yes. For example, if your idea is to come up with maybe a hospital management system, what are some of the questions you intend to ask the users of the system so that they provide you with the requirements that will help you to come up with a system? You get, these are the questions that I want you to incorporate in your SurveyMonkey or in your Google Forms, so that you share it in a model under the section where I'm going to add a link for your submission. Otherwise, thank you for turning up today. And yeah, so unless there is a question, but I would like to